Well, we've made it. We've done it. We are officially on 100 episodes of the Engaging Marketeer. So for those people who thought this was just a fad, this was just an idea that I was never going to follow through on, people think, what the hell are you doing? Why are you spending so long doing this? You're just wasting your time. I've done it. I've created 100 episodes of the Engaging Marketeer. Thank you for those people who have stayed with me this long. I really appreciate it. And for those people who are just listening for the first time, where the hell have you been, man? What the hell have you been doing? What have you been doing? Oh, come on. 100 episodes. This is episode number 100. I thought, shall I do something really special? Shall I get some sort of special guest in on here? Or shall I just try to parrot on something loosely connect to 100 and somehow make it work? And I thought, well, you know, what do I do best? I make shit up. So I'm going to do the latter. I am going to actually try and make something relevant to 100. And the one thing I thought of that is especially relevant, because I was at my networking meeting this morning where it was pointed out that I had been a 100-point member for the last, I think it said 12 months. I think it was wrong, though. It's not 12 months. I think it's 10 or 9 months. But I have been a 100-point member at my networking meeting, which is called BNI, since around about last March or April or whenever it was last year. Which, for those of you who don't know anything about networking, I can modestly say that is quite an achievement. If you're watching this on video, you can see here I've got a 100-point badge, BNI 100-point member badge. That means I have been a 100-point member, and you get those badges when you reach 100 points. But let me explain, first of all, what networking group is, and then how you achieve this and what it actually means. So for those of you that are in business and you go out to get more business, you'll be aware of networking meetings. You'll have gone to meetings where typically you go along, you go in the early morning or in the afternoon. There's usually food involved. There's always tea and coffee involved, and it's more often than not a little bit shit. You'll meet other businesses, other business owners, other employees of businesses, people who want to take their business card and shove it into your hand and hope that you go away and call them and do business with them. You'll have business cards yourself that you'll hand out like confetti in the hope that other people will come to you and say, "Ooh, I got your business card at this event 6 months ago. I really need what you do now, and because I met you once and cannot pick you out of a lineup, I think you're the person that's going to do it for me." And you expect to get this business, and it doesn't work, and it never happens, and it's all a complete and utter waste of time. What? It's all a complete and utter waste of time? That doesn't sound right. Then why am I still doing it? That's because that's how most networking meetings work. That's how most of them work. If you really understand networking, however, you'll know that it doesn't work like that. It is actually, rather than meeting the more people than you can possibly deal with and meeting new people all the time, it is actually about meeting the same people and building relationships with them, so that when you have a need for something that somebody does, you know straight away, yeah, I see that person every week. I hear them talk about that thing that I need every week, and I trust that they're going to do it because they turn up every week, and they have in fact helped me. Therefore, they're the person I'm going to use. That's what a networking meeting should be. And that's what BNI is. BNI, Business Network International, for those who don't know, started in 1985, which is a long time ago. And it's been in the UK a little shorter time than that. And there are currently 13 or so thousand members in the UK. 13 or so thousand people in BNI groups around the UK. And I'm in one of those groups, which meets in Chester on Thursday mornings. And each group has one person per category. So one electrician, one plumber, one digital marketing agency, one videographer, one accountant, one IFA. You get the idea. And you meet every week, and it's the same place, the same time, the same not particularly great coffee, if I'm honest with you, and you get to hear what other people do and hear about how they help people in their business, and you get to hopefully know, like, and trust them. And then, of course, you introduce them to your clients, to your family, to your contacts, because they're the people who do what you need them to do at times of crisis, like, a carpet fitter, for example. How do you get a carpet fitter around to your house that you can trust? How do you get a carpet fitter who's not going to rip you off? A carpet fitter who's going to turn up and do a good job for what you pay him. Well, I've known one for about 6 or 7 years, probably more than that, actually, and I see him every week. That's how this works, and they see you every week, which is how they trust you. So it is about building relationships, not about going to lots of different groups and throwing business cards out like you're trying to make it rain at the local strip club. Not that I've ever been to the local strip club. I usually use the one in Manchester. But that's another story. So what is the point of BNI in terms of getting business, in terms of this 100-point thing that I'm talking about, and how I am tenuously trying to link this 100th episode to being a 100-point member in BNI? Now, when you go to a referral meeting or a networking meeting, most of them are not measured on activity. So you don't have to help other people. You don't have to turn up. You don't have to pass business. Therefore, you'll find a lot of referral groups are just coffee clubs where people will get together if they feel like it. If they're a bit ill, they won't go, or if something else has come up, they won't go. They'll go if they feel like it. They'll have some coffee, they'll have some biscuits, they'll maybe have a bit of breakfast, they'll have a bit of a chit-chat, then they'll go away again, and nothing will get done. Whereas in a BNI group, everybody is tracked on what they do and how they help other people. Because the point of being there is to grow your business. The point of being there is for you to get more money, for you to actually value why you were there by getting a return on your investment. And if other people aren't helping, aren't doing it, aren't giving you referrals, giving you introductions, and basically turning up, then what's the point in you going? Why go somewhere that's just a waste of time? So they are actually measured on the performance. So everybody is measured on their performance. And they have what's called a traffic light system, which gives you, if you hit all of the measurements and do everything brilliantly, 100 points, which is what I am and why I have this 100-point badge. And I'm still a 100-point member right now. And there aren't many 100-point members in the UK. I am one of them. Don't mean to brag or anything, but there we are. So how do you become a 100-point member? What is the purpose of it? So first of all, you are measured on a series of key performance indicators, KPIs. There's your attendance when you actually turn up to meetings. There's the number of referrals or business referrals that you pass to other members. There are testimonials that you read out for other members when you've passed a business to them. They've done the work. You're happy with the work. You read a testimonial for them. There's the number of visitors that you bring. That's always the hard one. Bringing people along to the meetings to experience the meetings, and hopefully they will want to either pass work to other people or join. But visitors is a big one. There's the one-to-one meetings that you have, so it's not just about turning up to a BNI meeting and saying, oh, hey, how you doing, Dave? See you again next week. It's about meeting people in between the meetings so that you can have more time to get to know who they are, what they do, and how you can actually introduce them and refer them, and, of course, how they can refer you. Because remember, it's about your business. It's about you getting more business. That's why we all do it. There's training that is provided. That can be stuff that you listen to on the podcast from Ivan Meisner, the official BNI podcast, of which I am on one of the episodes. Catch me on there talking about social media and how you bring visitors via social media. Me and Ivan having a bit of a rap together. I'll put the link underneath this podcast so you can do that if you want to. And then, of course, there's the thank you for the business, which is the amount of business that you are thanked for when you pass referrals to other people. Because, let's be honest, if it was just graded on the referrals that you pass, people would be passing referrals that weren't actually referrals. I saw this guy on the bus who was talking about he needed an accountant, so I gave him your business card and that's a referral. Yeah. No, it isn't. No. Has that person got in touch with you? Have you been able to get in touch with them? Have you had the appointment? Have you discussed what they need? Have they become a client of yours? Now we're talking. Yeah, so how much money have you earned from it? Thank you for the business. So in order to get 100 points, it's based over a rolling 6-month period. So the activity you do in the last 6 months adds up to the number of points that you get. So if you get 100 points, do everything brilliant, and you get 100 points, you get to the top of the traffic lights like I am. Now, the first thing to think about is it depends on whether that 6-month period includes December. Because most BNI groups, probably all, I don't want to say all because some might not, but most BNI groups shut down for 2 weeks over Christmas. Which means if there isn't a December included, say for example it's January through to July, then it's 26 weeks. If there's a December included, say for example, November through to April, there's a December included, you don't have meetings for 2 weeks in December. That's 24 weeks. And the activity you do averages out over those weeks. Make sense? No, I thought not. Don't worry about it. So first of all is the attendance. If you have an absence, if you don't go to a meeting and you're not able to send a substitute in your place, either one of your clients, one of your suppliers, somebody else that you work with, a family member, child, if they're over 16, or is it 16 or 8, I don't know. But I've sent a child before, why not? Or maybe it could be another member of another BNI group somewhere else that isn't represented in their category in your chapter. Send somebody else a sub. If you have an absence where you just don't turn up, maybe you forget, maybe you're ill, maybe you go on holiday and a sub lets you down. If you have an absence, you lose 5 points, up to a maximum of 15 points. So just for turning up, you get 15 points. So if you do absolutely nothing in BNI, you don't give any referrals, you don't bring any visitors, you don't read any testimonials out, you don't do any training, you will have 15 points over a 6-month period just for turning up. So when I look at traffic lights for other chapters, and sometimes for our chapter, and I see people with fewer than 15 points, I think, how have you done that? How have you managed to get fewer than 15 points on your traffic lights when you get those just for being here? It's impressive. It takes a real skill to have lower than 15 points. That means you've done absolutely nothing and you've not turned up to meetings. Well done. You're a great member. They're really not helping you grow your business. Right. So that's the absences. Referrals. That's when you pass a warmed-up introduction to somebody else. So, say, for example, my mother-in-law has a leak in her toilet, which she does. I don't think anybody is going to object to me bringing that one up there, but my mother-in-law has a leak in her toilet. It's embarrassing, but, there you go. She's never going to listen to this. She's never going to watch this, so I can talk about it. I'm going to say it again. My mother-in-law has a leaky bog. So I would introduce her to the plumber at our BNI chapter, as I have done. And the plumber would get in contact with her, and she would be expecting his call. Because I said, right, the plumber's going to call you. This is his name's Stephen. He's going to get in touch. He's going to sort out the leak in the toilet. That's a referral. So he goes there, does the work. She pays him, or the landlord pays him, or whoever pays him. So he's had the work. Perfect. That's a referral. What isn't a referral is, as I mentioned earlier, if I overhear somebody talking about something and I shove a business card in their hand and then go, right, that's a referral to that person. It isn't, because that person needs to be expecting the call of the BNI member. That's the important thing. It's a warmed-up business referral. Now, if it is a 26-week period, so there's no December involved, you need to pass 32 referrals over a 6-month period. 32 referrals over a 6-month period. If it's got a December involved, then it's only a 24-week period. You need to pass 29 referrals, and that will give you maximum points for referrals. Okay? Nice and simple. Testimonials. This is the one I'm staggered people don't do. I'm staggered people don't because a lot of people at BNI stand up each week and say, oh, nothing from me this week. No contribution. Sorry, nothing from me this week. Why have you got nothing this week? I mean, you've given referrals in the past. Presumably they came off. Some of them came off. Presumably the work was done and you were, relatively happy with it. Give a testimonial. Read out a testimonial for that member. It's an easy contribution, a very easy contribution, and it means so much to that other member. It also means so much to the visitors in the room who see that member's done great work. Read out a testimonial. So you do a written, printed testimonial. It doesn't have to be long. It can be a couple of lines on headed notepaper. Print out 2 copies, take it to the chapter, read it out during the contribution section, hand 1 to the member, hand 1 to the vice president. That's your contribution. Now, testimonials, you only need to do 1 in a 6-month period and you get a maximum of 5 points for it. Even if you do 20 testimonials, you still just get the 5 points. So there's absolutely no point doing more than 1 testimonial at the same meeting because you're just devaluing your other testimonial by doing 2. And from a strategic point of view, if you don't pass a lot of referrals and you don't give a lot of testimonials, there's not actually any point doing more than 1 testimonial in the same month. You're better off splitting them up and doing one month, one the next month. To be totally economic about it, I tend to try and do one every 2 months. So I'll do 1 in January, then I'll do 1 in March, then I'm testing my maths again here, 1 in May, 1 in July, that sort of thing. Spreads them out. So each 6 months, I've usually got about 3 testimonials on. only need one because you can't get more than 5 points. Totally economic would be to do one every 5 months, just to be on the safe side to make sure they don't drop off over that rolling 6-month period. If you struggle, do one every 5 months. I know some people, and he knows what I'm talking about, Chris, who sets himself a calendar reminder for 5 months' time to do a testimonial. Yeah, that's clever. I like that. But then he is a financial planner, so kudos to you, Chris. The next one is visitors. This is the tough one. This is the one that everybody struggles with. Bringing visitors to the group, bringing visitors to the chapter. Now, again, if it's a 26-week period, so if it's not got a December in it, you need to bring 13 visitors over a 6-month period. So that's, what's that, two and a bit per month. So if you bring 2 a month and then 1 month you bring 3, you're okay. You're on the line. If it's a 24-week period, so no December, then you just need to bring 12 visitors, which is 2 a month exactly. Now, a visitor has to be somebody who is eligible for the group, so they can't be somebody who's already in another group or somebody who isn't in business. So it can't be, your mother-in-law who's retired, for example. Can't take her. She doesn't count. And it can't be somebody who's in another group already, or there's somebody in the chapter that does what they do. So it has to be somebody who could potentially join. They don't have to. They don't need to. They can have no interest in joining whatsoever, so long as they're an eligible visitor in that sense. They also can't have visited BNI in the last 6 months. If they've visited in the last 6 months, they don't count as an eligible visitor. So if they've been to your chapter the month before and then you bring them again the next month, that's not an eligible visitor. They've already been to the group. So that doesn't count. So it's somebody who hasn't been in the last 6 months and could conceivably apply to join if they wanted to. And if you bring 13 of those across a 6-month period where there's no December, or 24-week period, 6-month period where there is a December, you need to bring 12 of them, then you'll get maximum points for your visitors. If you bring 30 visitors or 40 visitors, I think I've peaked at about 45, 46 visitors over a 6-month period, you still get the same number of points. You can't get any more than that. So 100 points is the maximum you can get. One-to-ones is the meetings that you have with other members in between the BNI meetings. So a one-to-one is something that usually takes about an hour. You meet another member. It can be at their venue, it can be at your venue, or it can be at a neutral place. If you don't have a meeting room, for example, you could do it in a Costa Coffee or a Starbucks and talk about their business, talk about your business, and how you can introduce them, how you can refer them, how they can refer you. And then at the end of the meeting, you'd set action. So, right, this is what I'm going to do. This person we talked about, I'm going to email them and I'm going to try and introduce you to them, or I'm going to give this person a call, or I'm going to try and introduce you to them. That's what you do, and then you log that as a one-to-one. Over a 26-week period, you need to have 13 one-to-ones to count. Over a 24-week period, it's 12. So exactly the same as visitors. It's about 2 a month, 1 every 2 weeks. That's not too much to ask. And realistically, the more you do, the more referrals you're going to get anyway, the more business you're going to get. So you want to be doing it. You can also do one-to-ones with members from other chapters. It doesn't have to be people in your chapter. And in fact, BNI is a global organization, so through the power of LinkedIn and through the power of Zoom or Microsoft Teams, you can have one-to-ones with people anywhere on the planet. And I've had lots of one-to-ones with people in the United States, in Australia, in Canada, even in Norway, in English, obviously. I don't speak Norwegian, but luckily, Ove's English was fantastic. Better than mine, probably. So you can have one-to-ones with members anywhere and log them as a cross-chapter, cross-region, cross-country one-to-one. And 13 one-to-ones in a 26-week period, 12 one-to-ones in a 24-week period, that will give you maximum points for the one-to-ones. The CEUs, as they call it, which is the training that you go to, you need a maximum, whether it's a 26 or a 24-week period, a maximum of 9 hours worth of training. 9 hours worth, that's not even 1.25 a month. That's not much at all. And you can actually get that by listening to podcasts. So the podcasts from Ivan Meisner's official BNI podcast, they're about 14 minutes long. You listen to four podcasts, that's 1 hour's worth of CEU. So if you've got say an hour commute into work and an hour commute back, you put the podcasts on the way into work, that's 2 CEUs, 2 hours worth of training every single day. So in a week, you've done 10 hours worth of training. That's more than you need for 6 months. Easy. There's also face-to-face training that you can go to, and they usually last about 2.5 hours long. If it breaks into another hour, so if it's 2.5 hours, you can log 3 hours worth. It's very easy to keep on top of the training, and perhaps the best reason to do the training is you might actually learn something that is going to help you in your business. I don't know, you're listening to this podcast. This might be useful to you if you're a BNI member. Going to training might also be useful to you. And in fact, you may be interested to know, and I'll put the link again below the podcast, that I also run the website bnieducationslots.com. And I have dozens and dozens of BNI education slots on YouTube, which is part of sort of training that you can watch. You don't get points for listening to that, unfortunately. I've got to stress that now. So if you watch all the videos on my channel, you can't log it as CEU hours. I wish you could. I wish I could, but you can't, unfortunately, do that. But it is definitely worth having a look at. So I'll pop the link below. Have a look, see what you think. bnieducationslots.com, or search up BNI Education Slots on YouTube. And so 9 of those over a 6-month period will give you maximum points for training. The final one is the Thank Business. And this is the real, what we call the goal difference. So once you've passed referrals that have generated over £7,500 worth of Thank Business in a rolling 6-month period, that will give you maximum points for that. That will give you 100 points, as I am, 100 points. It then becomes the differentiator between where you appear in the national ranking systems. So can you become the number 1 member in the UK, which was my goal last year. My goal was to become the number 1 BNI member in the whole of the UK. First step, get to 100 points, which I did. Second step, I needed to get my Thank Business higher than everybody else's who had 100 points. And I think my Thank Business peaked at £56,000 over a 6-month period, which means I had given referrals, introductions to other BNI members that had generated actual business that they invoiced and got paid for to the tune of up to £56,000 in a 6-month period. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say, that did not get me up to the top of the national rankings. It didn't even get me into the top 10. I was furious. I peaked at number 14 in the UK. Number 14. I'm currently 24 as of December. I'm recording this in early January, so I don't know how I'm going to rank, because the traffic lights haven't come out yet for the rest of January. So I don't think I'm going to be 24. I think I'm going to be a bit higher than that. So hopefully I'm back into the top 20, but we'll see where I was, and I'll probably update you on this. Let's be honest, if I get that top 10, I'm going to talk about it absolutely everywhere. You're all going to hear about it. And if I ever get that number 1, by Christ, I'm going to take out an ad and probably a biplane skywriting the damn thing in the air. But that's what gets you into the top 10. It's about the business you pass. So I'm actually looking for BNI members now. So if you're a BNI member listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube, then please get in touch with me. I'm looking for BNI members who I can pass referrals to that are going to be worth a lot of money, because I want the Thank Business from you that's going to take me into the top 10, is going to take me to the number 1 member in the UK. So if you are, for example, in construction, or if you're an architect, or if you're vehicle leasing, if you're a commercial roofer, I don't know, something where a referral to you is worth an absolute shit ton of money, that I can possibly introduce you to the dream client that you want to be introduced to, I will happily do that. I will happily do that. Not because I want to help you. I mean, I do, obviously. But, you're a listener to the podcast, so definitely I want to help you. So please, get in touch. But also because if I do that for you, you'll log the Thank Business for me. I will then get into the top 10 and hopefully become the number 1 member in BNI in the UK. So that's my little pitch out of the way, but it's a pitch to help you. It's a pitch to help your business. So that's what being a BNI member is all about. That's how you become a 100-point member and join the 100 Club, which I have this badge for. And with the Thank Business, that is how you also become the top member in the UK and get to the top 10 in the UK, which is still my goal for this year now, still my goal for 2024. But one final thing I would like to point out, and I think this is important, just because you're a 100-point member, as I am, and you're at the top of the traffic lights, as I am for the chapter and I am for the whole of the Cheshire West region, doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing great in BNI. It just means you're doing great for other people. So I'm helping other people grow their business. I'm helping other people make money in BNI. Doesn't necessarily mean that I am. Now, I'll be perfectly transparent because I tell you everything on this podcast. Last year, and I put the stats in today, I generated just over £90,000 in revenue through BNI. So Engage Web earned about 90k through referrals and leads from BNI in 2023. So my goal in 2024 is to take that over 100k. Now, that might seem to you like a lot of money. That might seem to you like not very much. It completely depends on your point of view. There are members in BNI that earn hundreds of thousands of pounds through BNI. There are members that earn millions of pounds. If you're a builder, if you're a commercial builder, you're going to earn way more than that through BNI in terms of revenue, but obviously that's not all profit. That's not all profit. So it's completely relative. But just because you are a 100-point member doesn't mean you are getting loads of business. And in fact, I recently had a one-to-one. Because I'm a 100-point member, I'm able to do this. I had a one-to-one with the number one member in the UK. Now, I won't tell you who he is or what his industry is, but I had a one-to-one with the number one member in the UK. And strangely, he told me his goal for this year was to get out of the top 10. He didn't want to be in the top 10 because being a number one member meant that people saw him as doing really well out of BNI and people saw him as being Mr. BNI, and they just assumed that he didn't need referrals, he didn't need help. So just because you are appearing at the top of the traffic lights, you are appearing to be really good at everything, you've got the gold club badge for bringing in visitors who turned into members, you've got the 100-point member badge, you're 100 points now, you're in the top 20 or the top 10 of BNI or the number one of BNI, doesn't mean you're earning money. It means you are helping other people. So a word of caution, if you are a BNI member, if you are even considering joining BNI and you think, I want to be a 100-point member, I want to be at the top of the traffic lights, I want to be the one seen to be the one who's doing it, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn into business for you. It's important that you know how to educate other people, to tell other people what you do, because this is the biggest mistake people make in BNI. They stand up every week and they say what they do. Hi, I'm Darren, I'm a web designer and I help people design websites. If you need a website, then please get in touch with me and I'll be able to do your website. And I hear that kind of crap all the time. It doesn't help. You need to tell people how they can introduce you. So who do you want to speak to? So it can be a specific person, it can be an industry, or it can be a specific business. Who do you want to speak to? And why do they want to speak to you? Not why do you want to speak to them? That's obvious. You want to get work out of them. Why do they want to speak to you? And how can that person introduce you? How can they start the conversation? Because that's the bit people don't know. And if you're not educating people on how you can be referred, then you will never be referred and you will never get the business. So I see people who leave groups like BNI, not just BNI, other networking groups as well. I see people who leave them saying, I didn't get the business, I didn't get the referrals, I didn't get the work out of it. Well, whose fault is that? Is that everybody else's or is that yours? I think you'll find it was yours. You're the one who wasn't actually doing what you need to do to get other people to refer you. You're the one that wasn't educating effectively your sales force, your referral marketing team on how to market you and how to refer you. That's the difference. So that's it from me. That's my little introduction into what BNI is and how you become a 100-point member. Loosely tied into the fact that this is the 100th episode of the Engaging Marketeer. Get in! It'll never last. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for staying with me for all of these episodes, if indeed you have. If you're brand new to it, then have a flick back and have a look at the other 99 episodes. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are shit, but some of them are pretty good, and there's some good interviews in there as well. And I will catch you on the next episode.